Hey guys, I wanted to share with you a story today. The story is called Invisible Chains. It's about a little girl, very young, innocent in mind, and she goes one day walking in the forest, cheerful. She's humming as she's hopping along merrily as she goes, and in this forest she comes upon something. She's drawn to something sparkling, and she draws closer to see it, and she reaches out her hand to touch it, when suddenly from the bushel a chain is slapped around her wrist. She pulls her hand back to get away, and she finds herself chained by this monster that was hiding in the bushel. And this monster is just hideous to look upon. But this monster is very tiny as well. In fact, she's able to control the chain. She's able to pull along the monster. So the monster itself doesn't have the power to take her anyway. But she tries so hard to remove this chain and go free and be free from this monster, but she can't. And this monster is just so unpleasant. It's so hideous in appearance, and it burdens her, because she just wants to be free again. But since she has the power to control the chain, she decides, let me go home. Perhaps somebody can help me remove this chain. Perhaps somebody can help me be free again. And she goes home, but the trouble is, this chain is invisible as well. Nobody can see this chain that's on her wrist, and nobody can see this monster as well either. It's invisible. Only she can see it. So she has a struggle explaining it to people, that there's this monster that has chained me. It won't let me go. Nobody believes her. Nobody understands her. Nobody gets her. Nobody understands what she's talking about, but it burdens her so much, because now there's always this presence of this hideous monster, and it weighs upon her, and she has no rest in her soul. She feels overwhelmed. So days turn into weeks, and weeks to months, months to years. And she's in steady decline. She sought for help, but nobody was there to help her. Now in their family, in their house, they used to sit around the table for dinner. The whole family, when the children were back from school and the parents were back from work, they'll sit for dinner together, and it was the best time the family shared together. They would laugh together, and share their stories of the day, and the father was very funny and humorous, and he just brought joy to everybody. He's the most kind and humble and generous person and protective of the family. But at this point, she started to feel left out because she was going through this personal struggle that nobody could relate and understand. So she kind of withdrew herself from her family. She slowly started to close herself in a room and refused to come and sit with the family for dinner. And at first the mother was so worried about it, concerned for her, because she became more and more angry with everyone, and sad and depressed. And the father tried to reassure the mother that this is the age they all go through in their lives, and that time would pass as well. And but this would go on for years and years. And because she wasn't going to eat food at the table, she got more and more skinny and thin, and when she got more thin, the monster, the hideous monster that used to be tiny, she was now tiny in comparison to this monster, and the monster was bigger, and it had power over the chain. So the monster now started dragging her, where it wanted to take her into all kind of wrong things, and things you'd rather not have. And she got tied to many bad habits and things. There were things that never brought her comfort, but she was sad anyway about her life, and nobody could save her from it. Nobody really cared. In her mind, she thought. But one thing, the father never stopped coming every day to knock on the bedroom door when it was dinner time, to invite her to the table. And every time she turned it down. But this one day, so often she would respond back so angrily when they would come to the door. She was just so closed off and bitter. She hated herself and was bitter with everyone. But this one day she remembered when she was young how joyful she used to be, how cheerful she used to be, how she used to enjoy those moments around the table. And she realized she doesn't even remember her family anymore. She was a completely changed person, and she thought perhaps I could realize who I used to be again, and not overtaken by the misery in my life. So she thought, tomorrow, when Father comes knocking on the door, I'll answer to the call. Perhaps for a moment I can escape the misery in my life, and not overtaken by the thoughts that always hang over my life. The next day couldn't come soon enough. As that time approached, she waited with anticipation for the knock on the door. And finally it came. the knock on the door, and she just instantly opened the door, to the father's surprise. And she came to the table, but she still had this pessimism or cynicism, and she said to herself, I'm not going to smile. I'm gonna make sure they know that I'm angry and I'm sad. She had dressed in black clothes and had eyeshadow. But when they sat at the table, the father just started with his jokes and stories from his day, and everyone on the table just burst out in laughter over things he said, and for a moment she couldn't stop herself from laughing, but she tried so hard to hide it. Soon she just let go, not caring anymore, and she forgot. For a brief moment, she forgot all her sorrows. For a brief moment, even the chain that was always present just seemed to disappear. There was so much light in the room. Everyone was laughing and everyone was joyful. Everyone was cheerful. In that moment, she thought to herself, I wanna do this more. I wanna be this person again. I want to experience this every day of my life and be free. From now on, I'm going to come to the table. And so the evening ended. And so the next day came. And now towards the time dinner is approaching again. This time the master, which was quite big, started to act up and started to drag her down and draw her back until she felt like I can't do this. I'm not up to this today. The monster fed lies to her mind, and she felt powerless, worthless, and overwhelmed. So this time she didn't even answer when the knock came. But yet she said to herself, tomorrow I'm going to ready myself so that when the knock comes, I'll go to the family dinner. But the next day again, the monster will start acting up again. And so the next day and the next day, and she seemed to have reverted to her old way. And she had given up the idea that it's gonna happen. But after a week, finally, on this day, the knock came. Though she had kind of written off the idea, but when the knock came, something she just jumped up. She took no thought at all, and she answered to the call. And she was very excited to be up and to come to the table again, and so was all the family happy to see her. And oh, what a blast they had. And she enjoyed the time. And she decided she's not going to give up this fight. That no matter what it takes, if she has to drag the monster along with her, she's going to come to the table. So more and more times, she started to make it out to the table. And the more time she came, she started to eat food. She actually started to gain strength. She started to grow bigger. And the monster grew smaller. The less she listened to the monster, it became smaller. And as she grew stronger, even the chain on her wrist became very light. She got back control in her life. The monster couldn't drag her anymore wherever it wanted to take her. Her heart opened up again. She chose to be happy. And whenever she was in the presence of her father, it seemed like none of her sorrows existed. And as time went on, and as she grew stronger and she grew bigger, one day she just woke up out of bed and she realized the chain was gone. She must have outgrown it. She looked under the bed and the monster was gone as well. She looked everywhere and it was gone, and she realized she was free again. She must have grown so big that she scared it away. It couldn't hold her life any longer. She was free forever, and she had a whole life ahead of her. So that's the story. I'd love if you can share your thoughts, any thoughts you have, if you relate to anything in the story. Thank you so much for listening.